Hi friends, I'm Max Lucado. Welcome to Fresh Hope. Today we conclude our series based on my book, The Applause of Heaven. In these episodes, we focused on joy, how to find it, and where it comes from. Today we're going to conclude with the place that brings me, and probably many of you, the most joy, home. There's no door like the one to your own house. There's no better place to put your feet than under your own table. There's no coffee like coffee out of your own mug. There's no meal like the one off your own plate. And there's no embrace like the one from your own family. Home. The longest part of going home is the last part, the planes taxiing to the terminal from the runway. When my daughters were young, I went through a season of heavy travel, book releases before the world of social media required me to go to a lot of places. And I remember those final flights home after days on the road. I was the fellow the flight attendant always had to tell to sit down. I learned that there was a critical split second in which I could bolt down the aisle into the first class section before all the other passengers began emptying into the main aisle. I didn't do that on every flight, only when I was going home. My heart leapt as I exited the plane. These were the days when your family actually waited for you inside the airport, holding a sign to welcome you home. I descended the escalator to the baggage claim like an actor walking on the stage. The curtain was lifted, and the audience stood in a half moon. Most of the people waiting at the bottom could see that I wasn't the one they wanted and looked right past me. But from the side, I could hear the familiar shriek of two little girls, "Daddy!" I'd turn and see them, faces scrubbed, standing on chairs, bouncing up and down in joy as the man in their life walked toward them. I remember Jenna once stopped bouncing just long enough to clap. She applauded. I don't know who told her to do that, but you can bet I didn't tell her to stop. Behind them, I'd see a third face, little Sarah, only a few months old, deeply asleep. And then I'd see a fourth face, my wife's, weary from the week without me, grateful to have her husband and helping hand back. These were my faces of home. That is what makes the promise at the end of the Beatitudes so compelling. Jesus concludes his sermon with a statement of hope in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 12. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. What is our reward? Home. The book of Revelation could be entitled the book of homecoming, for in it we are given a picture of our heavenly home. John's descriptions of the future could steal your breath away. His depiction of the final battle is graphic. Good clashes with evil. But in the midst of the battlefield, there is a rose, and John describes it in chapter 21, verses 1 through 5. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." He who is seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." John is old when he writes these words. His body is weary. His friends are gone. Peter is dead. Paul has been martyred. Andrew, James, Nathaniel. They're fuzzy figures from an early era. As he hears the voice from the throne, I wonder, does he remember the day he heard it on the mountain? For it is the same John and the same Jesus, the same feet that followed Jesus up the mount so long ago now stand to follow him again. The same ears that heard Jesus first describe sacred delight, listen to it revealed again. In this final mountaintop encounter, God pulls back the curtain and allows John to peek into the homeland. And when given the task of writing down what he sees, John chooses the most beautiful comparison earth has to offer. The holy city, John says, is like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. One of the benefits of being a minister is that I get an early glimpse of the bride as she stands at the top of the aisle. And I have to say that I have never seen an ugly bride. I've seen some grooms that could use an alteration or two, but never a bride. The word is synonymous with beauty. But the world I woke up to this morning couldn't be described as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. Could yours? I awoke to a grieving world. A teenager took his life in the pre-dawn darkness. No note, no explanation, just a mother and father who will forever be hounded by questions they cannot answer. I awoke to a disillusioned world. It seems half the world is at war, and no one can agree who started the fight. When you look at this world, doesn't it make you want to go home? Me too. John tells us in Revelation 21 and verse 4 that when we get home, God himself will wipe away our tears. When I was a boy, I had plenty of people to wipe away my tears, 2 big sisters, a loving mother, aunts and uncles, and even an older brother who occasionally pitied me. But when I think about someone wiping away my tears, I think about my dad. His hands were calloused and tough, his fingers short and stubby. And when my father wiped away a tear, he seemed to wipe it away forever. There was something in his touch that took away more than the drop of hurt from my cheek. It also took away my fear. John says that someday God will wipe away your tears. And the same hands that stretched the heavens will touch your cheeks. And the same hands that formed the mountains will caress your face. And the same hands that curled in agony on the cross will someday cup your face and brush away your tears forever. When you think of a world where there will be no reason to cry ever, doesn't it make you want to go home? There will be no more death, John declares in verse 4. Can you imagine it? A world with no hearses, morgues, cemeteries, or tombstones. It's never easy to say goodbye. It's never easy to walk away. The hardest task in this world is to place a final kiss on cold lips that cannot kiss in return. The hardest thing in the world is to say goodbye. In the next world, John says, goodbye will never be spoken. Doesn't that make you want to go home? The most hopeful words of that passage from Revelation are those of God's resolve in verse 5. I am making everything new. It's hard to see things grow old. It's been a while since I visited the town where I grew up, but last time I was there, it was growing old. Some of the buildings were boarded up, some of the houses torn down. The old movie house we went to every Saturday night had for sale on the marquee. The only visitors to the drive-in theater were tumbleweeds and rodents. Memories of first dates and senior proms are weather-worn by the endless rain of years. Our fastest halfback is buried only a few plots from my own father. I wish I could make it all new again. I wish I could blow the dust off the streets. I wish I could walk through the familiar neighborhood and wave at the familiar faces and pet the familiar dogs and hit one more home run in the Little League park. I wish I could walk down Main Street and call out the merchants that have passed away and open the doors that have been boarded up. I wish I could make everything new, but I can't. I can't, but God can. He restores my soul, wrote the shepherd in Psalm 23. He doesn't reform, he restores. The master builder will pull out the original plan and restore it. He will restore the vigor. He will restore the hope. He will restore the soul. When you see how this world grows stooped and weary and then read of a home where everything is made new, tell me, doesn't it make you want to go home? What would you give in exchange for a home like that? Would you really rather have a few possessions on earth than eternal possessions in heaven? Would you really choose a life of slavery to passion over a life of freedom? Great, Jesus said, is your reward in heaven. He must have smiled when he said that line. His eyes must have danced, and his hand must have pointed skyward, for he should know it was his idea, it was his home. You'll be home soon. You may not have noticed it, but you're closer to home than ever before. Each moment is a step taken. Each breath is a page turned. Each day is a mile marked, a mountain climbed. You are closer to home than you've ever been. And before you know it, your appointed arrival time will come, and you'll descend the ramp and enter the city. And you'll see faces that are waiting for you. You'll hear your name spoken by those who love you. And maybe, just maybe, in the back, behind the crowds, the one who would rather die than live without you will remove his pierced hands from his heavenly robe and applaud. Thanks for joining me in this series based on my book, The Applause of Heaven. I hope you're one step closer to joy and one step closer to contentment, because I know you're one step closer to home. Until we meet again, friends, remember, true joy is within reach because the applause of heaven is ringing out just for you.